friend phoned me and said that she was feeling overwhelmed by the election of Trump. How do we keep up our spirits? I quoted a line that all of us probably know, which is, it's better to light a candle than to curse the darkness. How do we do that? In Nanaimo, many candles have already been lit. And one of the things that keeps my hopes up are all the things that are already happening in this community. For example, since last January, Nanaimo has welcomed many war-torn victims of violence. The Multicultural Center, refugee sponsorship groups, and many, many community volunteers are working to welcome the families and make them feel that they're part of the fabric of our community. There's room for all of us to be welcoming of the stranger. We need to remember that all of humankind are human beings. None are less important than any of us. In Nanaimo, we have done some work around truth and reconciliation, but we need to do far more, because that's the oldest of our colonial sins. Of candles that have been lit where we can be supportive. We can support the Haven Society, Nanaimo's Women's Center, the local efforts to feed the hungry, to house the poor. We can support the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom and call for an end to Canadian development and shipment of arms. We need to call on all countries to stop testing weapons on civilians in places like Gaza. We can support the leaders, the women often who are leaders in environmentally disastrous projects in Canada and around the world. We have heard of the women warriors at Standing Rock. The support for the people at Standing Rock has been amazing, and we need to develop the same support for people like Helen Knott and the Treaty 8 people at the Site C Dam and the Peace River. Mango Grannies work to support the grandmothers in Africa whose children have been orphaned by AIDS. There are many other groups in Nanaimo, based in Nanaimo, who are doing this kind of work around the world. We can look for opportunities to support these many groups. You're going to hear about a new group shortly. Some of us work with Mid-Islanders for Justice and Peace in Palestine, Israel, with the independent Jewish voices, with Israeli Jews and Palestinians who work for justice for the Palestinian people. You are welcome to join us. On our own home front, we can all mass like this against Kinder Morgan. any place in British Columbia. I'm going to end with a quote from well-known activist Arundhati Roy. "The trouble is," she says, "that once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you have seen it, keeping quiet, saying nothing, becomes a political act. As political as speaking out. There is no innocence. Either way, you are accountable. We are accountable." Thank you so much.